I selected the early childhood field kind of in a roundabout way. I was originally in retail, and I knew I wanted to do something with children, but I wasn't sure what age group I wanted. I'd started out originally thinking I wanted to teach high school geometry. I went through the want ads, and I found an ad for a daycare worker for 2-year-olds, and I applied for the job, got it, and I was hooked. And then I decided that I would go back and get a degree in early childhood, not realizing that I was going to end up with 4 degrees by the time I got done. What I love best about teaching students in the field of early childhood education is, like my preschoolers and kindergartners, when something finally clicks, their faces kind of light up. Not quite as maybe exciting as the preschoolers and kindergartners, but I like it when all of a sudden they seem to see that, yes, I understand what we're talking about. I have a quote hanging over my desk at home from Neil Postman that says, "Children are the living messages to a time we will not see." And I see my students that I have in college as those conduits of those messages to that time that I won't see. The most challenging part of working with my students is expecting a high quality of work. I understand that most of them are juggling work and family, and that makes it difficult, and I can empathize with that because I've been there. But in the long run, my commitment is to have high quality education for the children of the future, and so I have to expect high quality from my students in my classroom. I believe that teaching is a very human endeavor. It's my personality and how my personality connects with the children in front of me. I'm going to warm up faster to some children than I am to others. And just because I don't warm up quickly to Susie, I have to be aware of that, and I have to make an extra effort to do that. But in the end, my personality is different from anybody else's personality, and so how I interact with the children in my classroom is going to be slightly different. And you can't just say a mold and everybody needs to act this way, because it's personalities. And it's not just the personality of me, it's every class's personality. How I interact with a class this year would be different than how I would interact with a class the next year, because it's a different group of personalities. There are 3 traits that I think any early childhood educator needs. The first one is acceptance or even celebration of diversity. You will not have a class that everyone is the same ability. You have to be aware that you're going to be working with children in a variety of abilities, and that is a good thing, that children can learn from each other. We also need to look at diversity in the aspects of race and language and family style, and you need to learn to celebrate that diversity and see that as a positive. The second thing is patience. If you plan a whole week of lessons and it goes the way it was supposed to, you're probably in the twilight zone and you're going to hear do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. It doesn't happen. You need to be able to be flexible when the schedule changes, or when a young child needs something extra that you didn't have planned. You need to have that patience with children, because sometimes it takes them a while to catch on to things, and you need to understand that and stay with them and not push them. The last characteristic that an early childhood educator should have would be curiosity. They need to be curious about the world. They need to be curious about the children that they're working with. They need to be curious about the topics that they're going to be covering with the children. They need to be curious about everything around them, because they need to be lifelong learners. If they're not lifelong learners, they cannot pass that love of learning on to the children that they have in the classroom. They should be always exhibiting that curiosity about the world around them. For those in the early childhood profession that don't care to be directly in the classroom with children, there's other things that they can do. The Individual for Disabilities Education Act has a Part C that serves children from birth to age 3 that have disabilities. And these children are served in the home. So somebody with a bachelor's degree in early childhood could go into the homes and work not only with these children, but also with the parents to teach them how they can work with their children. That's one option. Another option would be working in any of the programs that require parent involvement. They could be working directly with the parents instead of directly with the children, and helping the parents understand child development and what would be appropriate to work with children that age. Another thing would be to use social media or websites to share what they know with others about child development, things that are appropriate to do with preschoolers, activities that they can do. And lastly, they could also develop learning materials for children that are ages birth to 8. They could work on what would be appropriate. What would be particularly nice is to have appropriate apps for iPads, because that is becoming such a big thing now, and often what we have out there are electronic worksheets. So using what you know about child development to develop these appropriate materials would be very helpful to the field. Sometimes people ask me, why should I even go into this field? And I have to tell them that you probably have the most important job in the entire world. You are setting the foundation of what society is going to be like in 20 years. You are affecting everything that's going to be around you, because it's the children of today that are going to be the decision makers of tomorrow. And how well we educate them, how well we help them learn how to think and critically come up with solutions to problems is going to affect how we live in our old life when we're old and elderly and decrepit, but also even after we're gone. It's going to affect everyone. So you have a job that is of utmost importance, but then on top of that, it's a job that you can enjoy. You love to go to be with these young children. They give you warm fuzzies. You get hugs from them. I always said, where could I go for a job where I got hugs and got to finger paint and got paid for it? There's so many positives on working with young children, but not only the day-to-day positives, but in the future, you are affecting what society is going to be like tomorrow.